Welcome back to the Heads and Tails podcast. This week, I'm honored to have Terrel Hunt on, who is a former Syracuse quarterback and team captain. He ranks in the top 10 in school history for passing yards, completion percentage, completions, and rushing touchdowns, despite suffering 2 season-ending injuries, including a broken leg in his junior season and an Achilles injury that he suffered midway through the first quarter of the first game in his senior season. He's more recently the founder of Good Choice Productions. So he's got the mix of the overcoming injuries, the entrepreneurship. He's like the perfect candidate for the Heads and Tails podcast. So, Terrel, really excited to have you on today and share your story. So, I don't know if you want to give us like a little bit of background on like maybe why you chose Syracuse out of high school, where you grew up, and I don't know, what led to these kind of like leading up to these injuries.
Yeah. One, I want to say thanks for having me on here. I know about your story as well, and I think it's pretty cool what you're doing here. Because it's one thing to actually go through it, but then it's also another thing to actually be able to talk about it and bring other people together to actually talk about it. So I just want to say thank you for having me on here. But yeah, my name is Terrell. I was born and raised out in Queens, New York. And when I was in high school, I went to Christ the King. It's a very, very big high school for basketball. And when I went there, everybody was like, "Why are you going there? Are you plan on giving up football? You want to play basketball?" And it was honestly, I wanted to go there. One, I got a scholarship because of basketball, but two, I was like, I want to change this program around. So I ended up going there, and when I was a sophomore, I actually received my scholarship from Syracuse University. And that was my first collegiate scholarship. And then after that, offers started just pouring in, letters start pouring in, and people. That's how it works, at least in the collegiate sport. Once you get one scholarship, everybody else is like, "Who am I missing? Why am I missing this guy? Why did they offer him?" So that was pretty cool. But I ended up choosing Syracuse because my mother, God rest her soul, she passed away when I was 16.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
man.
and a year and a day later, my dad passed away. And
Oh man, all while you were in high
while I
school?
was in high school, yeah. So yeah,
Wow.
it was crazy because my dad was one of those tough love type dads, and they weren't married, they weren't together ever, but it's just weird how he just couldn't let her go even after she left. But he was always one of those tough love guys, and he always said like, "Hey man, I'll never tell you I'm proud of you until you make it." I know he was, but he was one of those, right? And it was so like not even bittersweet. It was so crazy that the day he died was February 1st, 2011, and I signed my letter of intent to Syracuse February 2nd, 2011.
Oh
It's
man.
like, damn, I just wish he would have seen it, but I know he did. But
Yeah, he definitely
yeah,
saw it. He saw way more than he might have seen if he, if he
absolutely.
was here. Yeah.
I originally chose Syracuse because one, they were the first school that offered me, and two, the way they treated me was more than an athlete. It was more than a recruit compared to all the other schools that I went to. And also they wanted me as a quarterback. They didn't want to change my position. Some people wanted me at wide receiver, some at tight end. They're like, "Oh, you could play safety, you'll be great," But they were one of the schools that wanted me at quarterback. And then also that was the only school because my mother got sick and she had caught cancer. That was the only school that she was able to go to because it was only 4 hours away. So that was the first and only school she was able to visit and see. So for me, that was another thing. Like, man, I gotta go here, And the one thing that they did that I'll never forget is, on my mother's funeral, the head coach Doug Marone and the assistant coach who was recruiting me, John and Samo, they actually came to the funeral. And it's like I'm at my mother's casket, and people walking by, I'm saying thank you, for, and the people I expect the least to show up is those guys, or even any coach for that matter, that's recruiting me. And the fact that they took time out of their schedule and everything and to come down and, be there for me, that resonated a lot with me. So it was like I have nowhere else to go but this school.
Right. That's interesting what you said. I mean, that's incredible that they did that. And again, like, I'm sorry you had to go through that, man. That's tough to go through as a young
Yeah.
kid. But you said they treated you like more than an athlete. Like, what do you mean by that?
When I say that, like, it wasn't just hey, this is what we can offer you. This is what you'll become at our school. This and that. It was more of a, who are you as a person, what drives you? Where do you come from? Like they came to my basketball games, they came to my basketball practice just to watch, and talk to my basketball coach. So they didn't only come to recruit me as just the football player. They wanted Terrel Hunt. They didn't just want the quarterback that's good in high school. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it resonated because it was like, man, that's really cool that I can feel at home. Like I can feel like this is a family. And then also they both were from New York, so that helped out a lot. And they were recruiting a lot of New York kids because Syracuse had gotten away for that for a little bit. I don't know why. And just that in a nutshell of what they were trying to create and actually did create and we were able to accomplish. That's what really sparked it for me to make me go to that school.
Okay, yeah, I mean, all great reasons, man. Um, so, all right, you get to Syracuse. Did you have like NFL aspirations, from the get go? And I mean, like I know your dad
Yeah.
was like kind of getting on you, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
not proud of you till you make it. Like making it college, NFL. Like, is that what you had your sights
Yeah,
on?
you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to the NFL. Everybody I would talk to, they like, when you ask a kid, like, hey, are you good at this sport? And some kids are like, oh, I'm okay. I was the kid that was like, no, I'm good at this. Like, like, and I wasn't cocky. It was just that I knew what I wanted since I was a kid, like,
No, you got to have that
you
swag if
have
you're
to,
like an elite
what
level
I'm
athlete. Yeah, you got to think
saying?
that.
You
Yeah,
can't just be like, oh yeah, be nonchalant. Yeah, but I was like, no,
yeah.
I'm going, and for me, I seen Syracuse as I'm going to the NFL, and what I did when I first got there, mind you, as a freshman, not even as a freshman. So going all through high school, I didn't have the best coaches. I had great coaches as men, but not as football coaches.
X's and
Exactly.
O's. We're talking. Yeah,
It wasn't until like I want to say the coach that I had my first year, great coach, but his oh man, he ended up leaving. He ended up leaving my after my sophomore year. That was my first year on varsity. He ended up leaving, going to another school, and after him, it wasn't good. So I was calling my own plays. I was learning defenses. I was doing all that. But mind you, I wasn't great at it because I was never taught it. So everything I learned was like Madden from watching YouTube, from meeting with other coaches and learning from them, and then going to camps. So when I got to college, I didn't know all the coverages. I knew the basic ones, but when you get to college, they run cover six. They run all these different coverages. Once you learn the basic of it, you're like, oh, this is easier. But when we got there, we had 860 plays to learn. And when you come from calling your own plays that are just routes and easy numbers like 0221, like then you go to triple right X blast. But like it's like whoa, So
yeah.
that was one thing that was not discouraging, but it was scary in a sense. But yeah, as far as the NFL, I knew I was going to make it to the NFL, and everybody
All
around me
right.
would say the same.
All right, so take us up to that first broken leg, I guess. Like you started, I forget
Yeah.
like
So
when you started like actually starting games and stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
So
But
I started. So my whole career was kind of pretty crazy. So I started in 2013, but the summer of 2013, we had got a transfer named Drew Allen from Oklahoma. Big 6'5", got a cannon, great dude. And I was in the lead. I beat out the two guys ahead of me that were I wouldn't even say their name, but two guys ahead of me. I beat them out. And going into summer camp, I'm the guy for the job. Here comes this guy from Oklahoma, transfer fifth year. So now it's all the talk. Oh, he's from Oklahoma. The media's loving it. Everything, right? As expected. So now we're head and head, and I think I'm ahead, but whatever. The coach ends up telling me. I remember like it's yesterday. He sits me down in his office, Coach Schaefer, and he goes, hey T, I'm gonna go with Drew for the start. And I go, that's going to be the worst decision of your career. Right. And he says, for your sake, I hope it is. But for the team's sake, I hope it's not. I said, for the team's sake, I'm the best option, but we'll see. And he told me, he was like, man, I'm happy the way you handled it. I didn't know if you were going to throw a garbage can in my head, because he did that to his coach when he came in second place or whatever. But anyway, yeah, so that happened, and then I ended up starting the third game of the season because Drew didn't pan out how he expected, and I ended up starting the third game of the season and started every game after that, and we won the Texas Bowl our first year playing. And mind you, like I said, I was just out there just learning and just going through it, and we had what people don't know is we had 5 different offenses in my 5 years playing there. Like the first year we were pros, and the next year we were spread, and then we got a new head coach, and then we had to learn a new offense, and then we changed the offensive coordinator halfway through the season and had to learn a new offense, and it was
Right. And as you mentioned, like 860 plays of like 5 different offenses,
yeah,
that's what, like almost
exactly. You
5,000
know what
different
I'm
plays.
saying? And
Yeah.
then you got to learn different terms, different motions. So it was never a chance to able to get settled in or whatnot. But I ended up, winning the MVP of the league, and then I won an MVP of the Texas Bowl after we beat Minnesota. And following year, I'm the talk of the town. I actually went to the Manning camp. I was there working with Jameis, Dak, all those guys, great guys, Matty Mock, a ton of guys, and grew a relationship with them. I'm confident, I'm good. And by the 5th game, we're playing Louisville, we're losing. And I remember like it was yesterday, it felt like I dropped back, I rolled out of the pocket, and it felt like my O line just was so exhausted they didn't block this play. And I'm running, and yeah,
We've all been
yeah, it
there.
happens. I love my O line now, but I was running, and the linebacker, I forget his name, but he tackled me. And when he tackled me, this is my leg, and like he kind of like sat on me, so it like I thought I sprained my ankle, and I was like, oh, like I was down for a little bit. I got up, and I always remember how Tom Brady got his start, so I never wanted to come out the game, right? So I came out the game for a play, and I'm on the sideline, and I'm running on it, and I'm like, it's in so much pain, but I'm like, no, adrenaline's rushing. I got to get back out there. So I'm running. I'm like, I'm good. Next play, I throw a slant, and I'm like, oh, kills me. And he takes a slant for like 20 yards. So the next play, I'm like, all right, come on, just fight through it. We'll get through it at the end of the game. We'll ice it. I call hike, and I take a push off of it, and I can't, then I'm just hopping, and it just gets sacked. And now I'm like, oh, so I get to the sideline, we take it in the back, they go, you broke your leg. So now this is the 5th game. I'm like immediately I'm thinking the first thing that went into my head was I got a year left to make it to the league. That was the first thing that popped into my head. I didn't like I was like, damn, like this was supposed to be my year. So now I got next year. I gotta do everything in my power. And yeah, I ended up tearing my Achilles the first game of the following season, and it was tough because that summer I went to go work out with the quarterback guru George Whitfield. He trains like Johnny Manziel in the sand, and literally all the top quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL or college. He's trained. So I went out there, and
This was
after the
after the
broken leg,
broken
yep, that
leg,
summer
but
before
before
the
the
Achilles,
Achilles.
right? So I
Gotcha.
went out there. I'm like, everything's great. And what he told me, this was something that he told me, and I was like, man, I was on cloud 9 when he told me this, because he's trained top of the tops. And I went out there, and he goes, we did our evaluation. He said, man, I'm so proud you're out here, and I'm so happy you're out here because, I was with another quarterback. I won't say his name. I was with another quarterback for 5 weeks, and he's an NFL Super Bowl winning quarterback. And he goes, he can't even dream of doing the things you do naturally, And for me, I'm like, whoa, because your confidence is down from the first injury, and then you're like, I only got a year left, and then you go out there to train with this guy who's trained countless and countless of quarterbacks, and now you're like, damn, like I got to show out, but it's like I'm still a little, my confidence is a little down, and then to hear that right before you're going into your last season is like, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, oh, yep, I'm
Brings you
like, all
back
right,
up. Yeah.
this guy believes in me. I believed in myself all the time, but like to hear a professional who's been around a ton of greats to say that about me, it's like I'm going. I'm for sure doing it. I go to the what do you call that, media day. I get invited to the All-Star game, like right then and there before I even like got to play. He was like, hey, all you got to do is stay healthy this year. You're for sure go. So I'm everything's happening for me, right? Come around the game, I'm feeling good, but mind you, because I broke my left leg, I was overcompensating to get back earlier, and I was putting a lot of pressure on the right one, and I would get tendonitis in my Achilles, and
Oh, so you had pain
oh
like
yeah,
leading up
yeah.
to it.
But the thing was, like, they wanted me to get back because we didn't. Our backup quarterback was I want to say sophomore or freshman or something like that. So they wanted me to get back. They needed me to get back, and I wanted to get back myself. And so you put so much pressure on it. Then I got Achilles tendonitis, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm going through it. I remember the play like it was yesterday. First game, my first pass, I remember my right tackle, he didn't get the DN's hands down. The guy tipped it. It was a pick. I'm like, oh my God. This is how we're starting the game, right? I'm like, all right, don't worry about it. We're going to kill it. Next drive, we go out there. It's a run play, blah, blah. And then my coach calls a rollout play to the left. So I fake it. The tight end down blocks and rolls out. I roll out. When I roll out, the DN comes up the field. I could have just dumped it off. This is what annoys me. I could have just dumped it off very quick, got it to my tight end, and whatever, he would have picked up as many yards. But when I did it, I thought the DN was closer, so I pump faked. When I pump faked, he went up, so I went down under, and when I went down, he like kind of pulled me down, like tried to tackle me, and I jumped out of the tackle. As soon as I jumped out of the tackle, it popped. So I kept running on it, but if you know about anything, when you tear your Achilles is attached to all of this calf muscle. So when you tear it, you don't have that ability to walk anymore. That part, right? Because you can't do that. It's no muscle there.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no
So I'm
flex. Yeah.
running
It's
and I'm
like
like I don't no
there's
push
no
off.
push
So I'm
off.
like,
Yeah.
damn, I felt like when you're walking and someone steps on the back of your shoe and you're now yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm
Flat
like, oh
tire. Yeah.
man, my shoe came off. All right, let me just pick up 3 yards, fall to the ground, tie my shoes. I roll over to tie my shoes, and my shoes are tied. I'm
You're
like,
like,
so I roll over to get off the ground, and when I do this to get off the ground, my foot just drops, and all the pain comes. I'm like, ah. I get to the sideline. I'm cursing at our trainer. Name is Denny, great guy, but I'm cursing at him. I'm like, Denny, what the f is wrong? What the f is wrong? Like, come on, and he's not saying anything. So he feels my leg, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't walk, and he feels my Achilles, and all I see is him do this because I'm sitting on the bench. He's on his knee holding my leg, and he
he,
just does that, and he looks at the doctor and he says, so I'm like, what the f are y'all saying? Like, let me know. And he goes, I can't feel your Achilles. Instantly, all like the whole world just dropped on me. I started crying. I was like, no, no, no. I tried to get up. He's like, don't. And it was just like, oh my God, and I had to get carried off the field. And it's like, I was like, there's no way this happened. Like you prepare for everything and you're like, there's no way this is going to happen to me at this moment. And it did.
yeah. No, I mean, I actually watched the video. I did the
Yeah.
old Terrell Hunt Achilles injury YouTube video, and I saw it
Yeah.
and exactly how you described it. It's like you almost acted like your shoe fell off. It was like, oh, okay. Like I was like fall down here, and then yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure what you just described is what a lot
hmm
of athletes have that same exact thoughts and feelings going through their heads and uh, stuff like that. I'm kind of curious. Like, I'm always interested in that. I had pain
Yeah.
before the real bad injury because that's kind of what
Yep.
happened to me. Like, I had a really bad headache going into my
Yep.
last game I ever played football, and instead of telling someone my head hurts
Right.
really bad, but when I run, when I do anything, and I can't sleep, and it's like that bad. Instead of telling someone, I
Tough it
chose
out. Yeah.
to fight through it, and then I couldn't play ever again. So I always tell everyone, I'm like, it's not the concussion that was the issue. It
hmm
was the fact that I didn't tell
hmm
anyone and sit out that was the issue. Um, so I'm just curious, I mean, not that it matters. I don't even want to ask the question. Uh,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. You don't even
all
gotta
right.
ask. I'll tell you. So basically, the training staff was on top of it, right? But like they wanted me back. I wanted to be back. I was pushing my body, and I told them push me as much as they can. And coaches were pushing for me, but it wasn't like they looked past my injuries to get me back. It was like they knew I was tough. I knew I was tough, and I was like, listen, I can get through it. But the tendonitis, um, it would kill, because it's like it would sometimes in the morning I would get out, not even sometimes, every day in the morning I would get out of bed and I couldn't walk right away. I would, before tearing my Achilles, I would like have to, like just put my foot up, put it down, and then casually stretch it out, and I would ice it all the time. And but you got to think, when you're practicing all the time and then you're working out all the time. And then even when the one thing that we always laughed about was as athletes is we complain that we don't get a day off, and then when we get a day off, we go and work out anyway. It's like we were like, damn, we don't get no days off, and then as soon as we get a day off, we'll chill, and then we'll be like, yo, you guys want to work out? You want to get a workout in? Because that's what we're trained to do. So we'd always joke about that, and it was terrible. So do I feel like it could have been prevented? I don't know, because in my mind it was like I got one more year left. I don't know if I'm gonna get that following year. I got one more year left. I'm getting through it.
And that
I'm
that
not
that's
gonna
that's like the
admit.
dichotomy. Like you risk to benefit,
Yeah,
reward.
yeah,
Yeah, because like I always try to give little nuggets of like to stuff people who are athletes now to learn from our mistakes. Like if you
yeah,
can try to hold on and play longer than we can, like I want to give you
yep.
all the info that you can to make those decisions that will lead to that outcome. But like you said,
Hmm.
you're that point in your career. It's like, all right, well, either I sit out, maybe someone takes my spot, maybe they don't, maybe I come back, maybe I play. Um, it ended up, getting injured,
Yeah,
but it could have went a completely different way.
completely different way. Yeah, it's kind of the thing. Like it's a devil's advocate, right? Because it's like you look at, for instance, like Tom Brady, he got his start because Drew Bledsoe went out. So when you see something like that, like nobody thinks about what if Drew Bledsoe never got hurt? Could he have been what Tom Brady is now? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nobody ever really thinks about it. And it's like you always think about, oh, this guy got his shot because he was hurt. And the slogan in football is next man up.
Yeah.
It's like it's crazy when you think about that because as a player, you're like, yo, it's important, next man up. But when you think about it, it's like you're not really that important. You know what I'm saying? Like you are, but you really aren't.
And I think that's what athletes realize once they do get hurt and when it is
Hmm.
over, that's the
Oh,
part that hurts the most.
oh
Is
my
that you
God.
realize like, I'm actually not that important.
I
And
was on a date last night and I told this girl that. I said to her, I said, she was just talking about like, Leos and because I'm a Leo and she was talking about Virgos and everything. And she's like, yeah, Leo's like attention and so whatnot. I was like, I don't think so. I said, we get to talking. I was like, with athletes, you got to realize you die twice, right? This is what Patrick used to always said to
yeah,
us.
yeah.
You die twice. The first one is your real death, but the second one is I'm sorry. The first one is your athletic death, and then the second one is your real death, right? Because when you're a star athlete or very good at your sport, you get noticed and people, and then it's like you go from being like I literally went from being the most valuable player on the team to here in a year. And then it's like, all right, I got back, not here, but I was here, let's say, right? I'm still around because I know I'm just broken legs, so I'm going to get back. Now I'm boom, back in the spotlight. Let's go, bro. And then the fans forget about you, other players are getting, and it's
And then
like,
you're just
oh,
trying to like crawl your way back to like something.
something,
Yeah.
it's like, and then you got to remember, it's like we're also very young, we're like in hindsight, like we're put on a pedestal, so we have to grow up faster and than other 18-year-old, 19-year-olds, but we're also really young minded, and it's like coming from where I came from and dealing with what I dealt with, losing my parents, losing my sport is not as big as that. So I was able to deal with it, but I still struggled a lot. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like you lose this, and it's like, man, this was my identity my entire life. And now, what do people know me as? What do I know myself as? And then you just start questioning everything. And it's like, man,
Yeah, that's the
is this
struggle
what
for
life
sure.
is supposed to be?
Yeah. So before we move on from the injuries, I just want to like when you think back to it, like what was your response? And you kind of alluded to it, like after the broken leg.
Okay, so my response after the broken leg was, I got one more year. I'm pushing hard, going back at it. Went to go meet with George Whitfield. I was doing everything, running all the time, like just getting back to it. And my response when I tore my Achilles was, what else am I made of? What else do I like? What else, like you start thinking outside the little box that you were in, and you're like, you start thinking about, man, so what am I going to do now? Or what do I like to do? What am I interested? Do I like to do this? Am I interested in this? And then like for me, it was like, man, after it happened, I was just like, man, I'm just partying. I'm just gonna party my sorrows away, and then it's like that gets boring. You know what I'm saying? And I was
Because it's
like,
probably not you either.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I like a good time, but like I don't love to party a lot. I get tired of it. So and then it's also like for 4 years or yeah, 4 years damn near, or 3 years I should say, I was literally just focused on this, and then it's like,
Yeah, working out was your free time. Yeah.
yeah, it's like now you take out the massive reason of why we're there, you take that out, and it's like
Yeah, so basically you were going towards less
somewhere
productive
exactly.
less productive outlets.
Yeah, and somewhere you don't want to be. But like, yeah, like you're so depressed, and they don't give you someone to talk to. That's another thing. Like mental health, like they don't give you someone to
They being
talk.
like the school or
Yeah, the school. Like I don't never want to talk bad about for like Syracuse or anything. Like they were great, but like just the whole NCAA entirely. Like they need to work on mental health issues because you got to think like we're coming from like for instance, I came from a single mother, single parent household. Like my mom was a single mom, even though I lost both my mom and my dad, but that was me. And then, so it's like my life was already tough going into college. Now I'm in college and it's getting better. And then it's tough again. And it's like, man, like, I wish I just had someone to talk to who was,
yeah, you don't have your mom. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So like my other friends, and it was I would be jealous because like my other friends, like like they have family day and like walking on senior day and like stuff like that, and their parents would come up, and it's like, damn, like I wish I could talk to my mom and like tell her watch this game, but you can't. So it's like now I'm hurt. So the one thing that kind of helped me cope with losing my parents was sports. I dove into sports heavy in high school and I was always working on always. So like when I got to college, it was the same thing. And now it's like you took away my one vice that, well, not you took away, but the universe, God took away my one vice that I threw myself into to get my mind off of anything. Like yourself when you're working out, you're playing and you're preparing. Like when I got on the football field, nothing mattered. My girl could have just cheated on me. I could have just failed my test. I could have just like got into a car accident and wrecked my car of my dreams. But when I'm on that field, everything is perfect in life. You know what I'm saying? Even when the games are going bad, it's still
The distraction, yeah.
yeah, and it's like nothing else matters outside of this field. And
Yeah.
when you take that away, it's like, oh man, now what do I do?
Yeah.
What like
And you also appealed to have a 6th year and that got
mhm,
denied twice, right?
twice, yeah, and it was
Yeah, so you were probably at like the lowest of lows at that moment.
lowest
Um,
lows.
and you had mentioned I watched this YouTube video when you were talking about that 6th year appeal process, and you were saying that you don't wait for opportunities, you chase them.
Hmm.
And I know that was part like going for that second appeal. That was part of chasing your dreams and
Yeah,
still trying to keep that NFL dream alive. Um, was that game that you tore your Achilles the last time you ever played football?
yeah. At
Yeah.
least with pads on. Yeah.
Um, but in that same video, you also mentioned having some backup plans. Yeah,
Hmm.
you mentioned like commercial real estate and some other things. Like, what other stuff were you interested in outside of football? And did you have time to kind of pursue those interests while you
Hmm.
were playing?
So me personally, I always like had a mind of, I always wanted to work for myself, or I always wanted to like, I always loved like knowing about Bill Gates, knowing about who's the richest man in the world, knowing about who owns what company. Because like growing up, like when you grow up in a single mother home, it wasn't like I never had to feel that I had needed something that I couldn't get it. My mom always, even though she only worked a job that she made 60,000 on, and she's a probation officer, but I never had a want for anything. But that's not to say like we weren't struggling. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I always wanted to give my mom what she didn't have, and I was like, I don't want to work on someone else's schedule. Even if I would have made it to the NFL, I wanted to make it to the NFL for the money and the opportunity and the platform that I can do to change other things in other people's lives, right? So for me, it was always, I always branched out of just the team, right? It was a lot of athletes who stayed within a team, and I always branched out. My friends used to hate walking with me on campus because they're like, "Yo, you talk to everybody," and and it's like, why not, bro? We're not here just to be athletes. Like, yeah, we got, we're on a scholarship, but we're here to form relationships. Like some of these people we're sitting next to might be the next Bill Gates. Some of them might be a president. Like, for instance, Biden went to Syracuse. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you don't know what these people might be in years. They don't know what I might be. And already they want to be my friend because I'm the quarterback. So it makes it 10 times easier. So it was like, I always wanted to branch out and do more. So when I was there, I was always asking about like development stuff. And my roommate Ben Lewis, he's the one that actually told me about commercial real estate. I didn't know what it was. I always knew real estate. I wanted to own. I wanted to put together money to own one of the buildings that we will live in because the team would then pay us for it. And if I'm the owner, I'm getting money directly from the team. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I don't know if I want a house full of football players. That's asking for destruction. So I wouldn't do that. But like I was always thinking about stuff like that. And then my buddy goes, "Yo, commercial real estate." I was like, "What is that?" He's like, "It's real estate, but like bigger scales." And I was like, he's like a warehouse. And he goes, "Yeah, so it costs more money, so you get paid more." I was like, "All right." So my pops always told me if you're gonna be good at anything, I mean, if you're gonna be something, be the best at it. If you're gonna be the bum, be a best bum. Have the best signs, be on the best streets, wake up the earliest, get all the cans. Like he always told me that. He said, whatever you do, be the best at it. So I was like, I'm going for real estate. And while I was out there, after my year was up, I was working with a guy named Tim Ahern, and I was just going learning about stocks, and I was asking coach, "Hey, can you connect me with this person?" Blah blah blah. I want to meet all these people. I wish I would have did that from my freshman year. You know what I'm saying? But because I had so much free time, I had to fill it up with something else. So I was into various different things. Like I would I would find kids who, for instance, I went to a basketball game at one of the schools nearby, and this kid was on a team. He had a jersey on, but he was probably like a 8-year-old kid, but he apparently had cancer. So I went up to his parents after the game and said, "Hey, listen, I would love to have him come to a Syracuse game with a jersey on, run out with us like and I would go above and beyond and go to this kid's birthday party. And when he had his remission party, I went to it. Like for me, it was I wanted to really use that platform to be bigger than me, the athlete. So I wish, to answer your question, I wish I was involved more with stuff outside the sport as far as business minded, and but at the same time, you're not thinking about that when you're playing. You're thinking one thing, and
I want to start. I want to,
exactly, I
yeah.
want to start. I want to have a social life too, and I want to make it to the NFL. I want to be the best one in collegiate football. So it's like I don't have time to really think about, do I want to own a business? Do I want to get into real estate? So it's like you can do it, but it's also no one there is telling you, "Hey, listen, take a look at this, take a look at that." Like we had a joke. It was my strength coach. I love the guy to death. We're still very close, and he had a joke. He was like, "School comes first, football comes second." It's a joke, but they're at the same time, you're serious. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, he's a great guy, and he would always joke about that. But he always said, like, make sure you get your degree, and that was the one thing I actually got. I was able to get my master's as well, so I got something out of the deal.
Yeah, um, for sure. And I think when I did my research, it looked like you had made like honor roll during the time frames when you were hurt.
I didn't even know that, but if that's true, then I could see that happening.
I think so. Like it made it. I don't know.
Nah, I know,
I
I
don't know
know
if it was
my,
a
I know.
coincidence.
I'll tell you this: my GPA was the highest when I wasn't playing.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like it wasn't like you were sitting in your room,
Yeah,
like playing video games, like feeling sorry for yourself. Like you were out there doing stuff
yeah,
and
yeah.
making yourself better. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and my mom always like she instilled that in me. She said, "You only have two jobs in this world. When you're growing up, it's to make sure you're a great student and then your sport. And once they took that one away, it was like, well, I only got one job now." So
Yeah, but it's also obvious that you have a desire to help people.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, um, so all in all, it sounds like you didn't feel entirely prepared for that transition. Like it wasn't like you were hitting the ground running. It was you kind of had to figure things out, make a few mistakes,
yeah.
and then learn and kind of
Even,
feel it out.
even when I got home, I I did plumbing for the union. I did valet service. I did um, I did countless commercial real estate, life insurance, medical device sales. That's what I do currently now. Um, I did the whole nine. I own a online retail store. Like when I got out, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and there was nobody who could tell me what to do because, like I said, I don't have parents. So, I mean, I do have family members and stuff. It was like my aunt, who's very close to me, and I love their criticism, but and their constructive criticism and everything. But nobody in my family made it to where I want to get to. So it's like hard to go to them because like they can get you to where they got to their peak, right? But then you're gonna have to go and get a mentor to get you to another peak. And like I can't go to someone who's never made $1 million and ask them how to make $1 million. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And for me it was like there was no blueprint. I didn't have a blueprint to follow. I also didn't have someone to make sure that I was like, hey, how am I doing? Am I doing good here? I don't have that. I do, not to say I don't, I do, but it's like it's different from when it's your mom. You know what I'm saying? To when it's someone else. So for me, it was like, man, just try everything. And my friends always joke on me. They was like, man, you work more than anybody. And my friend's Jamaican. He's like, you work more than Jamaicans, man. He's always joking about it. But for me, it was like, nobody's going to tell you what you like. You got to go out and do it and figure if you like it. So that's what I did.
So you tried a bunch of stuff. I really admire that you tried the plumbing thing, the med device, the commercial real estate, the e-commerce
Mm-hmm.
website. You were hustling
Mm-hmm.
and trying to figure it out. Um, and to be completely honest, like I should have done the same. Uh, but I admire that you did that. So like,
Yeah.
how long were those stints that you were trying those new things out? Where you're like, you tried it
Yeah.
on, waited, it was a few months, a year, or whatever, and then you like tried it. Nah, not for
Yeah.
me. Move on.
So I did valet for 6 months. I did plumbing for three. And I'm the type of person that like I'm not gonna BS your time or mine, right? Because like losing my parents, I know that time is finite, right? So you could be here today, going tomorrow, and I've seen it firsthand with multiple accounts. So for me, I'm not gonna waste my time. So I did the plumbing for like 3 to 4 months, and I was just like, this isn't for me. Like I didn't want to wake up 6 a.m. or 5:30 a.m., go to the city at 7, be all dusty and all the stuff, then eat for 30 minutes, and then I got to go back to work. And then one time I did a double for like 2 days in a row, and that was living hell. I was like, this is not for me. I can work hard. I'm a hard worker, but there's got to be an easier way to make money where I don't have to put my body through this. Like if it was the NFL, I'll put my body through it because I'm making millions of dollars. Plumbing, not so much. So I did valet. I did that for like a good 4 to 5 months, and then I was just like, what I thought was I'm gonna do valet at night from 12 to 7, and then from 7 to 12, I have all day to do other things. So I'm getting money, and then I can also do commercial real estate and find a way to get money to do that. And I was living off of dollar slices because in real estate, you only make money when you close a deal. And I closed a few deals, luckily, but I was living off of dollar slices for months. And it was a hustle and it was a grind, but it's like you don't have a blueprint. I remember I still got the screenshot in my bank account because my mom left me money, but as the years go, you go through it. That's like that's more over 10 years now. So I'm obviously going to go through some of it and put some away, but you don't have anyone financially telling you what to do. So you invest it some places, you make money from that, then you lose some, you make money for that. So I remember my bank account was $13. And I just like, it was on my birthday too. It was on my birthday. My bank account was $13. And I just was like crying. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it kind of makes you think, like, man, school was a waste, because it's like, not to say it was a waste. It was a great experience. I loved it. But like, there's people who didn't go to school who are millionaires and very, very successful. And it's like, man, did I waste my time? So you start thinking that. And then it's just like, man, what am I going to do? But me, I'm a very resilient person. So I'm always looking on. I'll cry today, tomorrow I'm over it. So once I started getting a hang of things, like, all right, I closed a few deals, and then another opportunity came to be in the medical device field. And that, if you know anything about that, is phenomenal money in it. So I did that for a year and a half. Then the pandemic hit. So then I started doing life insurance, and I did that for a year and a half and made great money there. Ran a team of like 8 individuals, and I still do life insurance, but I had got back into the medical field again. And but through all the midst of it, me and my buddies, how we actually started Good Choice Production. Um,
Yeah, let's hear about that, man.
yeah. So Good Choice Productions is created by me, my buddy Jeremiah Kobena, who was also a wide receiver at Syracuse, and Wayne Morgan, who was a cornerback at Syracuse. All of which were really, really good athletes. And Wayne was actually like the All American coming out of high school into college. And we all were kind of sidelined by injuries. And we would always get together because we all live in the city, and we would just be talking. As athletes, you always talk, and then we would be like, "Man, what are you up to?" Because we're all trying to figure it out. We all don't know a blueprint. We don't know anything, so we're trying to figure it out. And we get to talking. We're talking about, hey, we should make a documentary. And then at first, we were all kind of like bitter at how the NCAA handled us. So it was like, man, we should, attack the NCAA in a way. Like, and how do we do this? Let's rally. And it's like, I was like, bro, they're $1 billion company, and we came to a conclusion we're not going to win against the NCAA. We've seen countless and countless individuals try to go up against them. You're not going to win against the NCAA, right? And so what we came to a conclusion was, as we started learning about business and reading more books. That's one thing I would say is highly important, to read books, like read a ton of books, because my mentor, he told me, if you ever want to hide something from a man, put it in a book. And he said that's why people in jail, they hide knives and everything in their books and contraband, because nobody reads them. So he said, if you ever want to hide something from a man, put it in a book. Once I heard that, I was like, I'm reading books, and I started just diving into books and just reading heavy, because it does something when you read a book and you can underline it. You just, and if I wanted to be Bill Gates and Sam Walton, who created Walmart, or someone like that, like, I was like, man, like, if I can't get in contact with them and I can't meet them face to face, the best thing is they all wrote a book telling you how they did it, but nobody reads. The average person reads one book every 5 years. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
so we get to talking about that, and then it was like, man, like, we need to create a solution, because it's like, I have some teammates who graduated with a degree and are rappers, some that sell marijuana, and it's like they took it, but they sell marijuana in now a dispensary. You know what I'm saying? But they're just it's just things that they're doing. But then I have teammates who are lawyers, so it's like it's it's a big range of a scale, right? And there's no one right thing to do, but we all go through it after college. So Good Choice Productions is, we thought like, hey man, we're gonna create a documentary documenting, boom, the 98%, right? Because the 2% make it, maybe even less. But everybody focuses on that 2% that makes it, right? It's on a large scale, but nobody ever puts the focus on the 98%, right? So, like, for instance, there's this guy named Jason Bridgman, or Jason Bridges, well, something like that. I'll have to get his exact name. But he's the second wealthiest player to ever play in the NBA. And he played for like 12 seasons, but nobody knows him, right? The reason why he got his wealth was because what he was doing during his off season in NBA was interning at Wendy's, Chili's, and fast food restaurants. And while he was interning there, he was learning how to own them, how to operate them. Now he owns over 250 fast food restaurants, and he sold them for like $700 million. But this is a guy who played in the NBA. Nobody knows him, but he made his money from doing something outside of the sport, from studying something, from becoming an entrepreneur, using that money to do that. So like, I was like, man, there's no way to get in contact with these guys. Like, being an athlete, as you know, we're a fraternity within ourselves, right? Because like, if I meet you, for instance, if I meet you on a plane, and you're wearing a Pitt book bag, for instance, because this really happened to me, but you're wearing a Pitt book bag. And I go, oh, you went to Pitt? And you go, yeah, yeah. I go, what you play? Oh, I played, let's say, basketball. Oh, okay, I played football at Syracuse. Where dope. Now it's an instant connection because we know that you went through a struggle to get where you were at and do what you did, and I went through a struggle, whether it was the same sport or whatever, but we both played on that D1 level, on that level of collegiate football. So I was like, man, there's no way to get in contact with other athletes who some guys may own a business, some guys may do this, and it's like no way to get in contact with them. So at Good Choice Productions, we decided to start a TV series that we're working on currently, um, where we show the 98%, the up and the bad, the up and the down, right? Because it's like as an athlete, sometimes I'm guarantee you went through this where you felt like, man, I'm the only person in the world going through this right now that feels like that. But when you think about it, every year, 98% of that pool is gonna go through that
And feel like you.
and
Yeah.
feel like you. But you don't know that because there's no way to contact. There's no way. There's no like athlete thing where you can. There's no like Indeed for athletes, and everybody who owns a company wants an athlete to work for them because time management skills, discipline, the whole nine,
Hustle. Yeah.
hustle, the whole nine, right? But like as an athlete, you only think about the sport when it's over, and you're like, oh man, I want the sport. But like all those skills that we naturally have for our entire life, people are trying to get them now. We had them at 10 years old, but we don't know how to
Hmm.
utilize them because nobody's teaching us
Or market them, or
or
yeah, make those
anything.
connections.
Make
Yeah.
those connections. So like we would brainstorm and brainstorm and brainstorm, and we're I can't go into deep detail because like we're in the process of doing an IP to protect the idea and all of that. But basically, it's catered around athletes to help them transition, basically to help them in a way do what you do, but more hands on and actually like a program that we're creating basically that will help athletes transition better and become, a person who's worthy to be in society and the society
Proud of themselves.
exactly who's not like
Yeah.
just going through it and just so down all the time because
Yeah. Because I used to say, like, I lost the thing that gave me an opportunity to prove my worth to
yes,
the world.
yes,
And what you're trying to do is show people or show former athletes other ways that you
you can
can
prove
prove
your
your
worth.
worth to the
Yep,
world.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's the one thing that I feel like you said it perfectly. Like you want to show that's your worth to the world, and when you either you get snatched from it, gets taken from, whatever it may be, you feel like, man, I'm unworthy of anything now.
Yeah. Yeah. The story that you tell yourself in your head is,
Yeah,
it can go one way
or
or
the
the other,
other.
but you're trying to show people yeah, through Good Choice Productions, like what other stories you can write for yourself. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Um, so during this entrepreneurial process, like how would you compare being an entrepreneur to uh, playing football and being a quarterback?
Um, perfect question. I always say this. I would say that being an entrepreneur, there is no blueprint, right? Because like being a quarterback, like yeah, you run a show, you call the plays, you do this, you make decisions, but at the end of the day, there's a bird in the sky that's telling you, "Hey, this is what they're doing. This is the play we're going to call." He relays it down to someone else, and then that person. So you're still getting told what to do, even as an athlete, right? Where our schedule is made out for us. We got class here, we got here, we got free time for an hour. Boom, we work out, and then at the end of the night, it's like whatever you do is what you do, right? But everything is laid out for you no matter what. Like, so you're still on a schedule and you're on a plan. When you're an entrepreneur, nothing's laid out for you. You have to figure it out. So now you have to be you have to be the designer of your layout. You have to be the designer of everything you're going to do, your choices, your decisions, what's good for me, what's good for the company, everything. So I would say the difference is there's no blueprint, but the hustle is exactly the same. Like I tell my friends that like I don't take naps that like often because like I don't if I sleep I feel like I'm missing out. Someone else is getting better than me. and like my friends laugh at me, but they're not. Some of them aren't athletes, so they don't understand it, and they're not
I'm not.
entrepreneurs.
I'm a very anti-napper as well.
I don't see the point in it. It's like we sleep 1/3 of our entire life. It's like I'm gonna
Already,
already. Why
yeah.
would you add more to it? So for me, it's like no, I just can't do it. So I have a fear of missing out, but not of parties, of like opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I completely get it. And you're still doing the oh no, you said the medical
Yeah.
device job kind of phased out during COVID.
Yeah, but so I picked it up again. So I'm doing that, and while trying to run, well, not trying to running GCP, um, because you don't make money from it yet, as you're like trying to figure it out as you're growing. Like in the first 5 years you don't make money from it. So all of us, we want to put all our eggs in this basket, but we have rent, we got bills, we have a
Yeah.
car, so it's like we have to work on something. So that's why we're all very excited to be going to Patrick's program in Townsend, to like for those 2 months just fully focus on our objective. You know what I'm saying? And 2 months of focused effort could jumpstart you wonders. So we're really excited about that.
No, yeah. Patrick says something to me along the lines of like, he compared it like with a cow. He's like, there's two types of cows. He's like, the one cow that gives the milk is the one that's just involved. He's like, then the other cow that gives steak is the one that's committed. He's like, if you're an entrepreneur,
You
you
got to
got to
give
give
steak.
steak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's literally the same
So
thing.
I thought that was
Yeah.
hilarious. So I'm like, yeah, you're definitely right, man.
Yeah.
So you're going down there full
Yeah.
time to work with
Yeah.
Patrick, and yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome,
I'm
man.
really excited.
Um, yeah. So as we kind of wrap up the interview here, you have any fears going into that program? Like any insecurities,
Yeah.
fears?
I'm usually not an insecure person at all. And
Yeah, you got that swag from being QB, man.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And then like my only fear in life is like to be a failure. That's my only fear, right? And I know it's not going to happen, but like that's my only fear in life, right? Because I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid of any of that, Like my only fear is that. So the one thing I would say is like what is kind of discouraging is when we got on a Zoom to meet everybody who's going and to talk about their ideas and their company and what they're doing. Some of them were like for instance, this one girl, I don't want to give it all away, but she created an app that links parents with babysitters. And she's 1 year out of college, and she's like, yeah, it's doing well, very humble, very, very humble. And she was like, yeah, we just made 7 figures. And we're like, damn, another guy, he created this thing for cameras and this and that. And we're just like, whoa, like, like then when we tell them our idea, they're all like, whoa, that's a great idea. And we're like, damn, but your idea is like killing it right now, But the one thing I got to realize is like, we run our own race, and our idea isn't like a fad. It isn't for, a time. Not to say any of their ideas are, but it isn't for like, we're not selling anything, we're creating something that will last for generations and change the lives of athletes and athletes that come. Because I don't see the one thing we realized, what me and Pat talked about, is athletes are essential workers, and the pandemic showed that and proved that, right? Because I'll give you two reasons. One, when sports weren't playing, what was on TV? I bet you can't even tell me. Can't even tell me, right?
No
Because
one was watching. Yeah,
no one was watching.
Netflix.
Netflix, exactly. Ratings went down. Netflix and Hulu, boom, because nobody was watching it. So one, it tells you people only watch TV for sports mainly, and like maybe their favorite TV show. And then two, athletes had to report back to college and schools before the essential workers and being professors and being people that work the grounds. So it's like we're more important than the people that run the school, and we're only 18, 19, 20. So now it's like, all right, so now you guys just showed your hand that we're highly important to the economy, to the school, to the entire way the world works. So now, one, we don't get paid. And I say we because I'm not in college no more, but two, we don't get paid. And then two, it's like, all right, now we kind of have backing. It's like we have proof now. You need us. It's not that like, like we need you anymore. Like you need us. So we realize like every year it's going to be a reoccurring athletes, 98% that don't make it in all of the sports relatively. So we're changing that 98%. We're trying to make that 98% get in the 2 percentile of net worth, get in the
By
2.
showcasing those stories.
Exactly. And by showcasing and giving a solution to it. So that was the one thing that I would say kind of did make me insecure was like, man, these people got something that they can touch, hold, and sell. And ours is more, it's not something that you can sell, but you can sell it. But you know what I'm saying? It's not like an object. So
Yeah, it's still an idea kind of at the moment.
exactly. And it's a longevity thing. So I would say that was the only thing that I think made us insecure, but
Yeah,
we're over it
comparison
now.
gets you doesn't get you too far. You gotta
Yeah,
kind of like stay in your lane. When you start comparing yourself to other people, that's when things start going
exactly.
awry. You don't feel so
Yeah.
good about yourself anymore.
Yep.
You lose that swag, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, stop comparing yourself. All right, last question I ask everyone on the podcast, and this obviously you're a very tough individual, just based off of what you've gone through in your athletic career and your life, and what you've continued to stay positive. But what's your definition of toughness?
uh, um, where my definition of toughness is basically, all right, Muhammad Ali, right? He when he works out, they ask him like, how many reps do you do? And he's like, I don't count. They're like, why don't you count? He goes, I don't count until it starts to hurt. Because now if I'm working out and I only get 4 when it starts to hurt, boom, if I get 5, I'm one more better than I was just that rep ago. I don't know how many I did. I could have did 35, but I got 5 extra reps that really mattered, right? So for me, the toughness is, everybody has up and downs in their life. I lost my parents. You almost died from a brain injury, right? From a concussion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And my friend, he lost a bunch of friends, and it was like everybody's gonna have up and downs in their life, right? But one thing my pops always told me is if no matter if you're up or you're down, always remain level, right? Because even my quarterback coach, like have a short mentality when you throw a pick. They always say short memory, because like it's life, right? It's gonna happen. Where even the richest people in the world have some type of thing that brings them down. And for me, it's like it's all about the bounce back, the get back, because it's like no one cares about someone who stayed down. You get what I'm saying? Like Delonte West, he was a top guy, and now he's a druggie. And it's like, why isn't he getting help? Because in our society in America, no one cares about the person that stayed down. Everybody, what sells is the comeback kid. You get what I'm saying? And that's why
The
The
response. Yeah,
response.
exactly.
That's why Tom Brady is so great. Because it's like, I don't care if you went down. Like it sounds harsh, but there's a reason why there's 98% people there and only 2% of people on top is because when some people go down, they just stay down. But if you could stay down and come up and stay down and come up, that's a fun ride. And then it starts to feel like you're on a roller coaster. Now, before you know it, you're going to be going even up higher. And then the coming down is not going to be so far. And then and then you just keep going up. So for me, toughness is honestly just being resilient and keeping your head down and, just knowing who you are and being confident in who you are enough to pick yourself up. You don't need to, go do anything. Just all you need is all you need. And honestly, it's all right here. And through
In your
books, I
head, yeah.
learned that, man. Like this is between the ears is the most valuable real estate in the universe. And you don't know that until you go, until you go down that hill.
What book would you recommend an athlete pick up?
I got one right
Like,
here. I got 3 books I would tell you. So
okay,
this is one of them. It's by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
okay,
Got to get that one. This is a
okay.
phenomenal one because basically Napoleon Hill studied it was like 125 of the richest people in the world at the time, and he studied them for 25 years, and he wrote basically how they became it. Another one is Atomic Habits. If you can see that. Oh, well, yeah, Atomic
Gotcha.
Habits.
Cool.
That's a good one. It basically tells you about just all the habits that we have, good or bad, and how we could create a, a good habit and how we could create a bad one. And then the other one is from, what is his name? Not Atomic Habits. What is his name? I can't remember at the moment, but it's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Okay.
And it's all about, just the compound effect about life. Like, how if I give you a penny and I double it every day for a month, and I give this guy $1 million, who's going to have more? We will, because it doubles and it's the compound effect. So it basically teaches you about that in life, right? Because it's like, the object, for instance, like I want to lose weight. I want to lose 10 pounds, right? But the object isn't to lose weight. The object is to become a runner so I can lose weight, or eat better because I'm a better eater. Like, I got this from somebody. I got James Clear, actually, the Atomic Habits. And the compound effect teaches you how if I do this today, I won't see the results tomorrow, but because I'm doing it repeatedly in a compound effect, the results will come exponentially later on down the line.
Right.
And I feel like that's the one thing with athletes, especially. We're so used to immediate results because it's like, boom, I shoot the shot, they cheer, I got 2 points. I win the game, boom, they cheer. Or if I get the first down, everybody's cheering. So it's immediate, but in the real world, it's not all immediate. So,
Yeah, and I'm even thinking to your own story, how you wish you like started reading these books when you were younger
yep.
and it networked more as a freshman. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are all those compound things. Like imagine if you like
If I
for an athlete,
did,
it doesn't have to be this big thing. It could be like a little
little,
thing once a week, but like over the course of 4 or 5 years,
that
it
adds
turns
up.
out to be a big
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
and even with money and saving, like everything
Yeah.
is a compound effect, and we don't realize it because what takes over is Instagram. Oh yeah, if you're an athlete just coming out of college and you're not making money from Instagram, don't be on Instagram. Don't be
Right.
on the social medias. Try to limit your time to the minimum because you'll subconsciously start comparing yourself to like what other people are doing, right? Because nobody ever posts their failures on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? They
Right.
only post like what they're doing and this and that and the highlights. So it's like if you're a former athlete, you're not where you want to be, and now you're on Instagram, you're looking at all these people who are doing this, all these people who are making money and putting their highlights on, you'll subconsciously start thinking like, man, like what am I doing in my life? And you'll fall into a depression. And
Yeah.
it's something that I've realized, like that I've read, like some of the creators of Facebook don't even have Facebook because of what it's created in human nature.
I actually noticed that you didn't have any social media
Yeah,
when I was looking
yeah,
you up. Yeah.
like if I do, I don't even put my real name on it because it's like I don't want, not to say I don't want people to find me, but it's like I don't pay attention to it as much, because it's like it's one of those things that it releases endorphins, and people become drug addicts off of that release of endorphins. So it's like if I can stay away from that, I'll be pretty good. I'll rather post
Yeah.
when I'm actually at the level I want to be at, because then it's like, man, this happened overnight.
Yeah, yeah. Then you're just with everyone
Yeah.
else. Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, thanks for your time and thanks for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. And I know it'll definitely resonate with the audience and athletes out there. And like you said, like 98% of athletes feel exactly how you felt, how I felt, and they can learn from your story and what you're doing now.
Yeah,
And we look forward to see what's to come with Good Choice Productions.
absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, and I'll definitely be in touch with you, man. This was a great
Will do,
time.
man.